Hello, girls and gays. I hope you are well. I hope you are living life as rooted as deeply in your peace as possible. Thank you for joining me. My name is Jasmine Kylene. I'm a spiritual counselor, I'm a journalist. I'm a little bunny hopping around doing her absolute best. And I am so excited about today because there's so much. There's so much going on, which I start off every video like exactly the same. Like there has to be a compilation. Hi, thank you for joining. There has to be a compilation of like just me saying the same thing every time I go live. Good morning, Jess. I've been thinking so much about you. I'm so happy to see you. I hope you're well, my angel. I'm gonna text you actually. I love you. But this week in particular, we have not only Neptune Retrograde happening, but we also have this new moon in Cancer, which is such a beautiful, beautiful opportunity if we know how to work with it. So I wanted to go live and talk a little bit about why these energies are so intense. So I don't doubt that you guys are not already feeling, I love you. I don't doubt you guys are already feeling the energies. I feel like the shadow period of Neptune Retrograde in particular has been so loud for me, especially if you guys have any prominent placements in Pisces. So I have a Pisces Venus, so I've been feeling this. Thank you. I know, it's like every video in the start is just like the same script of like, there's so much going on and let's talk about it. But yeah, having a Pisces Venus, I just feel very impacted. So if you're any sort of like major, not only Pisces placement, but just mutable placement, you're really going to be feeling this Neptune retrograde. But also if you are a major cardinal placement, you're really going to be feeling this new moon that's coming up. And both kind of have similar themes and they're happening the same literally week, but like, yeah, day. Pisces moon. Oh my God. Okay, so let's talk first about Neptune retrograde, what it being in Pisces means for us and how we can work with this. The positives first are that Neptune, being a planet that rules sort of like our relationship with divinity, our connection to spiritual and esoteric themes, it's really going to be a beautiful invitation to recommit to your spiritual well-being. So if you've been slacking on your meditative practice or however it is that you experience and find yourself closer to God, now is going to be an ample opportunity to really recommit, especially because Neptune retrograde, it starts on the 28th of June. And it's until the 3rd, me not having my glasses, the 3rd of December. So this is like a long, delicious opportunity to really recommit deep in yourself. Just immerse yourself in your spiritual practice, in your spiritual belief system, really get to know not only just how you want to physically experience God, but also how you experience God internally. So really recommitting to having a more intimate relationship with your intuition, with being led and guided by your intuitive compass, and really reflecting on if you are someone who's more logically or intellectually led, where's the discomfort with listening to yourself and how can you begin to sort of like mend that relationship. So spirituality is huge. Really pay attention to your dreams. And that's what I mean by like the shadow period has been very loud, because I feel like people have already been having pretty crazy dreams. But yeah, Neptune rules the subconscious, which leads me to the next part, which is that yes, it's going to bring up really heightened intuitive pings, but also Neptune is a planet that can show up when we experience excess, when we experience addiction, when we experience just sort of like overt attachment. So you really want to make sure that you have healthy boundaries when it comes to how much of things that you are consuming. Because yeah, anytime, especially in the sign of Pisces, which is just so boundless, Neptune in Pisces retrograde really is going to invite us to confront our addictions. And of course, definitely like the very standard addictions, right? Substances, shopping, like whatever the case may be, but you can really get addicted to anything. You can get addicted to a story. You can get addicted to perhaps things that could be on surface good for you. You can even get addicted to spirituality. Maybe this Neptune in Pisces transit is an invitation to find yourself more grounded. Just really recognizing what parts of my life have I lost a bit of control when it comes to boundaries with, and how can I sort of confront that in a way that's healthy. So yeah, revisiting and just kind of looking at where your relationship with addiction lies. And like I said, really pay attention to your dreams. I don't know if you can tell how tired I am. Like the bags under my eyes, I just don't sleep. I dream, and then I wake up not feeling rested, and I know it has so much to do with this Neptune and Pisces. I also haven't been getting 8 hours sleeps like I used to, and I need to recommit to that. So that's going to be how I experience God. Just by sleeping. I just miss it so much. The other thing about this is, especially, and I just touched on it a little bit, but we can get addicted to stories. And Neptune is a planet that really, really, really is the rose-colored lens. So when we have it in retrograde, it's sort of like the shattering of that rose-colored lens. So you really want to look at what truths, what circumstances, what situations in your life have you perhaps been evading confronting by telling yourself a story, or by sort of filtering it with some, pretty filter that sort of, inhibits you from confronting the reality of the situation or the circumstance or the habit or the pattern or the relationship. So when we have Neptune retrograde, and I do want to say Neptune retrograde, yes, honey, it's been a time. Neptune retrograde is joining Saturn retrograde. It's joining Pluto retrograde. So we can kind of see on an upwards level, on a collective level, how this is playing out societally and politically, right? We're really in this state of okay, what hasn't been working? What isn't true? What is systematically antiquated? And how can we uproot it and rebuild something new? So of course, as above, so below, you really want to look at in your own personal life. Saturn retrograde is really making us look at what structures need to be refurbished, what has built my life in terms of relationships and habits and circumstances and patterns, and how can I look at the bare bones of that and reconstruct it to honor my authenticity. Thank you for joining. And Neptune retrograde is kind of adding into that element, because Pluto retrograde is really, it's the death. I don't know if you guys have been feeling that element of death and rebirth, but if Saturn is the bare bones, if Pluto is sort of the internal, then Neptune is really how have you been coping? How have you been experiencing your life? Have your coping mechanisms been a form of escapism? Are you creating your life, or are you telling yourself a story to avoid looking at your life? Hi, thank you for joining. So yeah, I'm going to repeat that because that's a really good journaling prompt. What stories in your life are, no, that's not how I said it. Damn. You see how Neptune retrograde already has me dizzy? Are you creating your life, or are you telling yourself stories in order to escape the reality of your life? Yes, exactly. And it's beautiful because it's a really empowering moment when you find yourself in the flow of being in that co-creative space with the universe, recognizing, that you're trusting how the path unfolds and that you have a clear direction. But Neptune retrograde is really coming to say there are some things that are tangible, that are physical, that need to be addressed, that cannot be, a fixed candle away, or you can't meditate this thing away. You kind of have to confront the reality of it. And so with Neptune being a planet that typically is illusion and it's rose-colored lens, and it's us looking at life through, especially with it being in the sign of Pisces, this very, iridescent energy, we're really being invited to confront the reality of things. And thus, with everything that we've learned about what it means to set healthy boundaries and to use our throat chakras, right? The grounded part of our spiritual journeys, we can sort of confront them in a way that helps us evolve into ultimately this really, really, really karmic new chapter of our lives, because I haven't even gotten to the new moon in Cancer, but it has so much to do with excavating and releasing so that we can have the room and the space to evolve and to invite in what wants to honor our evolution. So Neptune retrograde is just playing a very vital role in the Saturn and Pluto retrograde party of death to what no longer is, and the bravery in confronting what no longer is, even if it's uncomfortable, so that we can step into full alignment and ultimately our fullest potential. This, if we really want to talk about this heat, honey, this is timeline hopping energy. This is do you want to be in your highest possible timeline? Is that something that you're just saying, or are you actually committed to the truth of that? Because living in your highest possible timeline means really, really, really aligning your vibration to match and honor what you want to call into your life. And if you are avoiding the truth of certain situations by telling yourself a story about them, telling yourself a story about yourself and what your worth is in regards to the situation, you're going to stay stuck in that timeline. So I hope that makes sense. I always just like go off on tangents, and I feel like I will say Neptune retrograde has a bit of like a Mercury in retrograde element of like communication is going to be a bit odd. So I wish I had like a works cited. Like I wish there were, but I'm doing my best to communicate. So overall, find the difference between your intuition versus the rose-colored lens story. Delusions will be wiped away. So if there's anything in your life that right now is facade, whether it's it can bleed into so many different areas of your life. I would really invite you actually to look into what part of your chart is ruled by Pisces and see kind of like where the illusions and the delusions and the stories are kind of getting shattered so that you can align more deeply with your truth or confront what of the situation or circumstance actually isn't true so that you can rid yourself of it and align yourself with the largest possible, deepest truth. Because the secret to timeline hopping is honestly living the most honest and authentic life possible. So if there's any part of your life that is inauthentic, that is dishonest, that is facade, it's really going to be shattered, and that can be painful because sometimes there's a lot of comfort in false narrative. But it is in the confronting of the false narrative that you really, wow, as I'm saying this, I'm like recognizing how it's applying to my life, and I hate it here, but we need this. And veil before the universe rips the sheet for you. Exactly. Because the universe will do it, honey. Your first house. Yeah, a Pisces first house. Oh my God. And anything about just the way that you are experiencing the world and the world is experiencing you that isn't true or honest is going to be absolutely shed, but in the most beautiful way. And it's gorgeous because the Neptune retrograde is aligning with the new moon in Cancer on Wednesday. And the new moon in Cancer, there's so many things to say about this. I'm just going to be screaming for 4 hours. But like, it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful opportunity for healing and for recognizing, especially because Cancer is... to me, it really rules the divine feminine. It's the ruler of the fourth house, which is kind of like the home that we have within ourselves. And so we want to look at like our emotional safety, right? Neptune retrograde is inviting us to look at like our spiritual safety, like have we been committing to our spirituality in a healthy way, in an addictive way, in a committed way, really reevaluating our relationship with spirituality. But with this Cancer new moon, we're really being invited to reevaluate are the systems that we have built to uphold and keep our emotions safe. Do we feel safe within our bodies? Do we feel safe when we retreat back to ourselves? And ultimately, if there is any sense of danger within ourselves, how much of that is ours and how much of that is actually like the wounded divine feminine in our lineage? And how can we liberate our ancestors by liberating ourselves? Once again, that was deep. That was a lot of words, but it's actually probably one of the most important things that I'll say. You really want to look at what stories, what narratives, what habits, what patterns are playing out in your life, how they're affecting you, and how much of it, like I said, is the weight that you are carrying for somebody else, especially when it comes to the women or the women identifying or just the divine feminine in your lineage, what their experience was, what their truths derivative of those experiences were and are, and how you may be allowing that to affect how you, wow, once again, me realizing how this is showing up into my life so viscerally, so literally, like with my physical mother. That's wild. I'd really invite you to sit with this because Cancer, I'm not that excited for Cancer season. I'm not going to lie. I wish we could just jump to Leo season, but it's so, I mean, the Zodiac tells a story, and this Cancer chapter is so important for healing and for excavating and for really looking at what is threatening my sense of safety internally, what is threatening the home within myself, whether that's my belief system, my habits, my patterns, and ultimately, I forgot what the prompt that I wrote was, but it was worded in a way that was really intentional. But basically just like, at cutting ties with any lingering energies, they're just placing more weight on you, because when we're ascending timelines, we need to be as airy and as with minimal baggage as possible. And so Cancer, in particular this new moon Cancer, is really inviting you to confront what baggage are you holding on to that isn't yours or that it's threatening your ability to feel emotionally safe. Definitely set intentions with this one. This one is really, 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 really powerful because there's a lot of planets that are in their domicile sign, or a lot of signs are in their domicile planet. And so, there's just this potency going on. So I would invite you to work with water, take a bath, visit the ocean if that's within your accessibility, do some sort of water ritual. I have some water rituals on YouTube that you can check out if you need some inspiration, but ultimately really work with the element of water both literally but also figuratively, right? Like the fluidity of that. But ultimately, I think what's so important is to set intention on how you want your life to feel, how you want to feel in your body, how you want to feel in your relationships. Really connect to the element of emotion, especially because this new moon in Cancer is going to be connecting with the full moon in Cancer in January of 2023. So you kind of have this like 6-month space in front of you to say, like, okay, within these next 6 months, what kind of life do I want to build, and what is the feeling of that life? We manifest the most viscerally when we connect to the feeling, right? And there's a lot to this new moon that has the element of releasing, right? There's this cathartic energy to it, especially with so much retrograde going on. We're in a reflective state and really ridding what. Sorry, you see that shadow just passed? That was kind of scary. We're in this, it was a bird. Anyway, we're in this reflective state and really recognizing and confronting what no longer aligns with our truths. There is this releasing element. But new moons ultimately are known for fertile soil, for intention setting. So you really want to allow what you're releasing to inform you about what you are planting. So you saw that, right? That was wild. It was such a huge, I think it was a hawk. And honestly, everything means something, babe. So I'm going to sit with that. But yeah, you really want to set intentions on what you want your life, your relationships, your job, your sense of identity to feel like over the course of the next 6 months. Who do you want to arrive at as in January of 2023? Yeah, this human feels like a death. I have undergone so much like energetic death. And it's really, really, really exciting because it's informed me so much about what I'm being born into and born as, but it also is a lot. So if there's any wisdom that I can impart, it's just to make sure that you're resting as much as possible, and just to like allow like the integration to happen on its own time. But ultimately, yeah, we're really getting called to like review and reflect. Like I said, especially with Saturn retrograde, Pluto retrograde, and Neptune, it's the fears, it's the stories, it's the limiting beliefs, and it's ultimately everything that the divine feminine has lived before you, and the wounding that they have been carrying, and how you may have made that yours, and how you can ultimately release it by making new choices, by breaking patterns and habits and cycles. It's a lot. Hawks invite us to get clear. They align with the crown chakra, to really examine the perspective before diving in. Oh my God. Are you kidding? First of all, I have you know what? Should we pull from Jess's incredible animal deck. It's ridiculous how often I use this. But a hawk just passed by, and so she gave us some animal wisdom. And honestly, yes, that's 100% it. I think and it's funny because when I pulled cards this morning, can I just share? This is so ridiculous. The first one that came out was solitude. The second was choose wisely. And the third was heart chakra. And so everything about this is the energy of these like retrograde, this retrograde season that we're in, which is, can you sit still for a second when you're moving so quickly and being so led by, just being led by going, you don't actually give yourself permission to perceive what is real. And you miss the details of it. And so when we allow ourselves to kind of sit in some stillness, especially with like the hawk energy, the hawk medicine, I'm going to cry. When we sit in the stillness, I think we allow ourselves permission to have that perspective, perceive, and let that inform us about how we can choose wisely in a way that aligns with what our actual truth is, because we can miss our truth when we're living in stories and in movement and in false identities and coping mechanisms and escapism. It's a whole thing, but I'm definitely going to pull an animal card for sure as well, which I don't typically do, but obviously, Jess, you have inspired it. But ultimately, I do want to say, as I'm pulling this, that Neptune is a planet that rules health as well. So you really want to recognize the ways in which you aren't being intentional when it comes to like your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, but also just most importantly, your spiritual health. So if your spiritual hygiene hasn't been kept up, it's time to recommit. And if you have been so committed to your spiritual hygiene that it's become an addiction and it's forced you to bypass the reality of your situation, then bringing it back to the middle. I can't. I shed to grow beliefs and healing. Are you kidding? Are you absolutely kidding? Are you absolutely kidding? First of all, snakes have been so loud. I've been working with Goddess Hathor and she's been yelling snakes at me. I'm wearing the snake necklace that I'm obsessed with. I need to get back to my spiritual routine. I shed to grow. That's exactly what this is. It is in the releasing that we like organically set intention on what we are stepping into. It's rebirth. I can't. By the way, guys, if you don't already, please follow Just Be Inspired and get this deck. It is my favorite deck by far. Not this being a sponsored post. It's really not, but it's like the most incredible. It's so powerful. Every time I pull from here, it's ridiculous. This is going to be on display now because this is exactly where I'm at. And this is exactly where we're at collectively. It really is. I shed to grow. And when we really look at the root of it, it's like I shed, and the root chakra has everything to do with our ancestral lineage. And it's like I shed the beliefs that aren't mine, the attachments that aren't mine, the stories that aren't mine, the stories that I may have been telling myself to cope or to perform as something for the permission and validation that isn't mine. It's all about letting go of what isn't yours so you can get more clarity on what is yours and stepping into that, because timeline hopping is all about recognizing what is my authentic definition, what is my true definition of joy, of peace, of liberation, of abundance, and what in my life is threatening that truth, and how can I release it and shed it so that I can live in my truth and thus be a magnet to everything that aligns with that truth. Yes, I can't, mother. Yes, 100%. Oh my God. Thank you. You just added so much energy to this. Because I'm deceased. Like I said, I have not been sleeping. Neptune retrograde shadow period has already gotten me. So that's basically the tea. All in all, like I said, really use this retrograde season to allow illusion to be shattered so that you can live in your truth, recognizing where you are surviving through storytelling and where you can actually just confront the reality of things in a way that's spiritually informed, but also grounded, so that you can sort of bridge the 5D and the 3D by, making physical steps towards healing while also trusting in your guidance. It's a cocktail. Neptune retrograde is starting literally tomorrow. Super excited about it, but we've been in the shadow period for at least a week and I've been feeling it. It's an outer planet, so we're going to be seeing it more collectively, which I think we are all seeing it play out collectively. But it's really, really, really going to inform us about like what the stage of our life looks like, right? I think the inner planets are more about our inner worlds, but the outer planets really sort of build the stage that our life is in. So with Saturn, an outer planet, being in retrograde and Neptune going in retrograde, it's like, if my life is a house, what does that house look like? What part of the ground is not stable? What part of it is dishonest? What isn't true? What do I need to remove? Whether it's, like I said, look at the pillars of what holds up a life. The relationships, the commitments, the jobs, what no longer resonates, what is going to cave in any second now. And instead of like being like, that looks like it's going to cave in, but if I put a fresh coat of paint on it, no one will notice, right? Like how long can a fresh coat of paint really last? And how can you actually confront the truth of it, which is that like, okay, I need to tear that down. I need to recognize the fact that there's literally mold in that. And I need to tear it down and actually replace it with something that is true and honest, because truth and honesty can't be deteriorated. I hope that makes sense. And this new moon in Cancer, like I said, please, please, please work with it. It's such a powerful one. I don't have the ocean near me, which feels so wrong, but I'm definitely going to take a bath. Really connect with the element of water, really set intention on what stories you are shedding and what stories you are now going to replace those with. And yeah, I'm sure I had more to say, but I've been a little bit all over the place. Set intentions for 6 months from now, making sure that you're cleansing and clearing your energy. Surrounding yourself with people that uplift you and feed you and fuel you rather than anything otherwise. The home you have within yourself, really reflect on the safety that you feel within yourself, your emotional safety. What do you want your life to feel like, and really sit in the feeling of it. And with Neptune retrograde, review anything that you feel like you may be addicted to on any level. I think I've been addicted to the story I've been telling myself about a person instead of the actual person. So that's like a little insight on how that's playing out for me. Find the difference between creating your reality versus telling yourself a story to evade the reality of your situation. Delusions will be shed. Be more intentional with your health. Recommit to your spiritual routine. And I'm sending you guys all my love. Thank you. I appreciate it, Jess. I love you so much. I'm going to message you ASAP, actually. I really miss you. But I hope you guys walk with grace and know that, listen, these are the cards that came up. Shed to grow, solitude, and choose wisely. Had enough. Anyway, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.